Hi, everybody, and welcome to another conversation with Carrie and Dani. Today, I'm not sure what Dani wants to talk about. She says she's got a topic, so take it away, Dani. Ask me the question.
Well, this could be the shortest conversation we've ever had yet because you're not going to believe this. I really don't have anything much to say. Um, but I thought maybe I'd discuss this with you and do it live in
Mhm.
case someone else has thought the same things. So I was laying in bed this morning, wee hours of the morning, that is, and I was thinking when I should have been sleeping. And I
As
actually
we
was
do.
blaming that on the I was blaming that partly on the fact that I knew we'd be recording and I was thinking, oh, what am I going to talk about? But it's not really that. It was just I was thinking when I should have been sleeping. And it occurred to me that there was something missing in my life. And I don't know how long this has been going on and I hadn't noticed. And I'm excited about this thing being missing. It was like a really happy thought for me. I realized that what's missing in my life is for most of my life, I suffered from what I called feelings of impending doom.
Ah, yes. Yes.
Feelings of impending doom. And I was thinking, when was the last time I had a feeling of impending doom? And I thought, I can't remember. It's been a little while now. I say a little while. I mean, definitely there would have been one in the last year, but it's been probably a good 4 or 5 months since I've had any large feelings of impending doom. Um, and then I thought, since I haven't had one for a while, it was easier to think about where they came from.
Hmm.
And they came from growing up in the Adventist church, obviously. It probably
Obviously.
part of it's probably genetic and DNA as well, and from family culture. To be fair, it's not all the church's fault, but the things I was taught and the one I attended certainly fed it.
Hmm.
Fed it. The whole end time things and be scared of everything, always be on your watch. God's going to come like a thief in the night, and this is all true.
Hmm.
But you don't have to be terrified about it. Oh my goodness, when COVID came, I was convinced, I can't believe I'm alive now. I was still attending church when COVID started, and I was convinced we'd all be in heaven by now. I mean, we were told the world was not going to last till now. So am I actually alive, or is this just a figment of my imagination and I'm really in heaven? No, no, I'm not. I'm still here
So it's a pretty strong figment to reach clear to the US. You have frozen.
on Earth.
Oh, oh, there you go.
So
Moving
I
again.
said, have I frozen or okay, okay, I froze. And going to church school, we were taught things. I remember that the Bible teachers saying, did you argue with anyone when you left home this morning? What happens if you die or your mum dies? Your mum dies while you're at school, and the last words she'll have ever heard was the fact you argued with her this morning. And I said, there's some feelings of impending doom about everything. And then, of course, there was the belief that I held for most of my life because it was taught to me that like the 23rd Psalm, if you're going through a wonderful moment, and there's been wonderful moments in my life,
Hmm.
but if you're going through a wonderful moment, you need to think of it like the 23rd Psalm. If you're walking beside the still waters, it's because God is getting you ready for the bad shit that's about to come. So you have to make the most of these good moments. So even in the good times, I was always waiting for the other shoe to fall and how long is this going to be good for? And when's the bad stuff God's getting me ready for arriving? And so anyway, the wee hours of this morning, I was thinking, wow, where did the impending doom feelings go?
Mm.
And I just thought, this may sound crazy. To some people, it's going to sound crazy. But surely there are other people out there that have experienced this. I cannot be the only one. So how about you, Carrie? Did you have any impending doom feelings?
I think so too, and I still get them occasionally, because honestly, you feel like you can't even speak this out into the world, where it's just like, life is pretty good. You're like, if you speak it out loud, something's gonna happen. Do you know?
Well, if you speak it out loud,
Oh, you paused again. Goodness. Because if you speak it out loud,
The
then the
devil's
devil,
going to take it as a personal challenge.
yep, the devil's gonna hear it and go, I'm gonna get Carrie, you know? So it's yeah, I think that suffering was kind of celebrated. Do like the whole martyrdom?
Oh, I was told many, many times that the devil only picks on those that are actively close to God. So if you're not feeling challenged or picked on or anything by the devil, it's because you're not close enough to God for him to worry about. It was
And
you said
why
in fancier words than that, but that's what they said.
and so much of that is basically giving the devil way too much credit. We're thinking that he's stronger than God. Like if we're close to God, I mean, we should be protected, you know? Like why are we thinking that the devil is so strong? I think we've been giving him way too much credit. He's not the most powerful being in the universe. And I think that feeling of impending doom is a lot less, than it used to be. So when you
Um,
say feelings of impending doom, when do you remember when those would hit you or what the context would be?
well, I was going to say, a lot of the time I had no idea. I had no idea. I can recall even as recent as 4 and 5 years ago, and just feeling a lot of the time, like more often than not, feeling that something bad's going to happen. I had no idea what it was, where it was, when it was coming. It was just this thing that followed me around like a shadow.
This dark cloud, like a cartoon, where somebody's walking around in a bad mood or upset, and there's just this rain cloud right over their head that just
Yep.
follows them everywhere.
It was just an impending doom cloud. And it might, I don't know, I mean, it could have been anything.
Hmm.
Might could have been anything that I would have gone, oh, yep, that's what the impending doom was about. Here it is. We've run out of chook food. The cookie bin's empty.
Hmm.
I didn't get enough sleep tonight and I don't have the energy to drive to town. How am I going to have food in the cupboard? I don't know. I remember walking around with this feeling of impending doom. Even in the happiest moments, I just recall clearly being taught that and believing it for most of my life that if you're going through something good, it's because God's getting you ready for the bad stuff that's going to come. So even the most beautiful moments, it was, well, had an impending doom cloud somewhere out there. Make the
Just a,
most of those joyful moments because you don't know how long they're going to last. Um, oh my goodness, I can remember someone saying to me, it was one of our teachers at school, that when you see something, when you get old, all you have is your memories. So every time you see something beautiful, like a beautiful scene, you come over the hill and there's a wonderful ocean vista, you should look at it, close your eyes, and burn it into your memory because one day you're not going to have anything except for those memories.
well, that's cheery.
So I, my impending doom cloud was honestly come by.
Well, yeah,
Um,
I mean, because you're always just kind of taught never to don't get too comfortable. Something bad's gonna happen. And I think now I'm able to live more in the assurance of God's protection and his love. And, you know, I think if we over worry about, I know what the end of time is gonna look like? I have no idea. I don't know. And so part of that is you do miss a little bit that assurance of knowing. Like, when we were Adventists, we knew what the end of time was gonna look like to a
well,
certain extent. Um, but now I'm like, I don't know what it's gonna look like, but I know that the Lord's gonna be with me through it.
so, sorry, I just have to speak here
Yeah.
because maybe I misunderstood what you said. But when you said about, you can live without the impending doom cloud and the insurance of God or however you put it, I'm sitting here going, Yeah, yeah, that sounds like one of those Bible band-aids you talked about in our last meeting, Carrie. Bad things happen to Christians all the time.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, Solomon said that. He said, in song, in Ecclesiastes, isn't it? The rain falls on the just and the unjust.
Yep.
Or is that, um, and so I don't know quite how, where it came around. I mean, I know bad things are going to happen,
Hmm.
but I can think about that without an impending doom cloud following me around.
And I think too, maybe, okay, this analogy will
I don't,
probably fall short, but here's one. When people, so with what I do for a living, working in a dental office, a lot of people will come in really nervous and upset about their appointment. And then when it's done, they're like, "Pooh, that wasn't as bad as I thought." And so it's like, so the anticipation of the event is worse, can be worse than the actual event itself.
Absolutely. That is me every single time I go to the dentist, have to get blood drawn or or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's me, 100%.
And so if we're giving up space in our head for the impending doom all the time, I mean, why are we wasting our brain space on something that's impending doom when we can maybe not? I mean, I know that's clumsy. It's not as
No, no,
eloquent
no,
as
no.
I wanted to.
It makes perfect sense. And when you say, why are we giving brain space to impending doom when we don't need to? My first thought is, I'm not anymore, but I was because it was trained into me.
Hmm. Yeah.
It was just trained into me from, it was just part of the world I lived in. It was perfectly normal for as far back as I can remember.
Yeah. It's just
Um,
how you approach life and the attitude, and of course, in my job, I see so many. Like I looked at my schedule yesterday before the start of the day, and I had 7 patients on my schedule, and 6 of them were over the age of 70. Which
wow.
is perfectly fine. I love it. I don't mind at all. But then there's some older, and they can have the same problems going on in their mouth. But one I dread seeing. I have to psych myself out. And the other one's like, yay, I get to see her today because she's so sweet. It's like, so how do we want to approach life? Do we want to be the person that everybody's like, yay, we get to see Dani today? Or do we like, oh, Dani? Not picking on you, but kind of am.
No, I didn't share those impending dooms with people. I grew up
Yeah,
a good little Adventist. I was taught to hide all of that and be pleasant so people would like you whether I was feeling nice or not.
exactly. Because you were supposed to be pleasant. And you didn't want anybody to know you were part of a weird religion. You were just a normal Protestant denomination that happened to go to church on Saturday.
I don't think I knew I was weird for a long time. I mean, I knew I was weird. I didn't know I grew up in a weird religion for a long time.
Well, we're all a little weird. That's what makes life more interesting.
So, yeah. So, I'll be really interested to see and hear anyone else that's spent a large part of their life or grown up with like this little impending doom cloud following them around and how it was for them and where they think it came from. Maybe it came from the same place as me. Maybe it was similar. Maybe it was really, really different. And
And I think what you said too about family of origin and how you grew up, I think that has, and maybe innate personality traits may have a little bit to do with that as well. Um, but I think that sometimes uh, systems
well,
can prey on people that are prone to having it and make it worse.
yeah. Well, my mum grew up in the Catholic Church and became an Adventist somewhere in her late teens. So she already grew up with an impending doom thing and the
Hmm.
whole I have to ask forgiveness for everything I've ever done.
Hmm.
Um, and stuff and some of the stories I remember her telling were, so there is those things there too. Because I but I'll be curious to see how widespread it is.
Yeah, I just trying to think if I have any examples from. I'm sure I had it. I know that we weren't taught in, like we had shared in our the last video, taught to deal with emotions. I remember this story has always just stuck with me. When I was promoted from primary to junior Sabbath school, that was in the summer, and I was just a little I was a small child, just a little kid, very pretty quiet for the most part. And I remember going into the junior department and I felt pretty intimidated anyway. I just, just starting fifth grade, coming in there. And for some reason, that Sabbath, they had some kind of a slideshow or presentation on crime. And
Okay.
they had a visual aids. And of course, back then, visual aids were a little more like just a slideshow with legit, slides. They had some kind of a little TV slide projector kind of thing. And there was pictures of guys, and my mom probably remembers this too, because it was pictures of guys in ski masks and all this stuff. And we didn't watch any stuff like that on TV when I was a kid. And so just talking about the crime wave and how dangerous dark corners could be and everything. And that night, I could not sleep. I could have swore there was a burglar in my closet. I just could not, I couldn't do it. I was 9 or 10 years old. And
Yeah.
I went and told my mom, I said, I don't know, I'm just really scared. And she was mad. She's like, why are you showing this to these? So some of the junior kids, of course, were older, but just that sense of impending doom and how I just couldn't deal with that as well, going, oh my goodness, this is so scary. So there was some stuff that we were so very sheltered from, and then other times they're bringing these pictures right into Sabbath school.
I think just reminded me, one of my first experiences of seeing outside, because when you're a child, you don't see it from inside yourself. But one
Mm-mm.
of my first experiences of really realizing about how the whole sheltered thing and about how things impact children was, oh my goodness, it'd be a long time ago now. Um, it was back in the somewhere in the early 90s or mid 90s, and I took a trip to the States. And I was
Mm-hmm.
staying with a friend in LA, and we were chatting away, and she said, we're going to go to Disneyland. I was pretty excited about a trip to Disneyland. And my friend said, she had a son that was, I don't know, it must have been 8 or 9 at the time. She said, Disneyland is so much more fun with kids. She said, I'm going to ask my friend to come and bring her kids.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have so much more fun with kids. And she was right.
Mm-hmm.
Disneyland was so much more fun with kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's an amazing experience. But there was a point where we were on one of the pirate ship rides or something, and there was pretend shootings and stuff happening, and we're in this little tiny like dinghy boat going through a tunnel. And it's just, the dinghy boat follows the water, and there were all these things coming up, and the other kids just they just freaked out. Like they were absolutely terrified. They cried. They were convinced they were about to die. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, they'd never seen a television.
Mm-hmm.
So they knew all the Bible stories and bits and pieces and stuff. So they knew violent stories. So
Mm-hmm.
they'd grown up with all the Bible stories, a lot of the Bible stories are violent, very
Oh yeah.
violent. But they'd never seen a television. So there was no understanding of what's real and what's not real.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just interesting to me. At the time, I was like, But once I came home and had time to think about stuff, and then eventually started working with kids more, and then later on again getting into counseling and processing some of the traumas of my own early childhood and things, it was really helpful to help me understand how impressionable kids are.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Um,
how ill prepared children can be for life, you know?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
and
yeah.
and knowing the difference between, and there's so many people who try to, especially in the church. I know of a family that pulled their kids from the Adventist school because they were showing um the public broadcasting show called The Magic School Bus. I don't know if you guys have that down there at all. It's a cartoon, and the teacher is Miss Frazzle, and she takes the kids in a school bus, and the school bus shrinks down to microscopic, and they explore places. They explore like in the human body. They'll fly out to space. So it's the the magic school bus. But
That
because
sounds
they
like
called it
fun.
magic, they pulled the kids from the school. If they would have called it the imagination school bus, it would have been fun. So you can't prepare your kid for the world if that's how you're looking at the world, that they can't even use their imagination for fun.
Yeah.
So it's just and and all of these stories we heard growing up about the end times, the Project Sunlight, and was it Now was the other one, and reading that as teenagers and kids in elementary school, how is that helpful?
I was about 10 or 11 years old, I'm sure, when I read that. I remember being quite young.
Was it Project Sunlight or Now?
No, Project Sunlight.
Yeah, I read it. I know I was in elementary school when I read it because I remember where I was when I read it. And so I think I was probably in either sixth grade or eighth grade. Could be sixth grade because I was pretty advanced with my reading.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I was way ahead in my reading always.
yeah,
Um,
so it's just, and I think that cloud of impending doom stems from all of that, and how things were approached. And if we didn't memorize our scriptures exactly how we were supposed to, we weren't going to be able to defend our faith in the end of time. So if we couldn't recite our scriptures, I mean, our family would pay for it.
well, not only that, but you had to memorize your scriptures because you weren't going to have a Bible.
Right. Yeah.
And of course, you can't, without the Bible, have a connection with God. So
Right. Exactly.
you can't claim promises to keep you safe if you can't remember the exact wording and where they were found and what they said.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm so glad to be free of the impending doom, you know?
Yeah. And just think, hopefully, I don't need to keep clarifying this stuff, but I feel just in case, probably because I am on Facebook and I do see the things people say. No, we are not saying let your children watch violent movies. Let's just clear this up just in case there's someone out there whose brain goes that direction. No, that's not what we're talking about. That's a trauma to a child and a really bad thing too, to expose them to things that are beyond what they should know at that point in life. But there's
Mm-hmm.
also a point where you can over shelter kids and not let them or encourage the use of imagination. And yeah, not going to get into that. There'll be people annoyed
Oh yeah.
going, don't tell me how to raise my children. I'm not. I'm telling you how I was raised affected me.
Yep.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah.
And I'm not gonna tell somebody how to raise their children. I thought I knew how to parent until I had my own kids. Like, I got no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Probably messed them up, but they turned out all right so far.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing if I'm the only person that's ever had, you know, that impending doom thing. The other way of looking at it is just say if, that vague feeling that something bad's going to happen and I don't actually quite know exactly what it is.
Hmm.
It's used to like follow me around
Yeah.
and say,
And
I'll be
I'm sure
a
I'm sure
good
you're
little
not the
sister.
only one. Especially us women, we tend to have a lot more of that. We overthink, we overworry, and the men look at us like, "What's wrong with you? It's gonna be fine. Just zip it. Let me zip it."
I think our men know each other, even though they've never met. Oh,
I,
that's
I
too
think I
funny.
think it's more like we're normal, and so are they. We're
Yeah.
normal for women, they're normal for men. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, please, anybody has any thoughts on our conversation today as far as thoughts of impending doom? And if you're in the process of disentangling yourself from Adventist beliefs, if there's anything that we can do to help, or just sit and listen. we're pretty good at that. So, um, hopefully everybody has a great day. Leave us some comments, please like and subscribe, and we will see you all next time. Anything to add, Danny?
Just that I'm happy that I'm no longer carrying that thing around with me anymore.
Yay. Yes, so good. All right, all. We'll see you next time.